Imagine waking up on your own private island in the Caribbean. The ocean is bright blue, palm trees move slowly in the wind, and a helicopter waits to fly you to your private jet. Hours later, you land in New York and walk into a mansion larger than most hotels. Billionaires, politicians, and celebrities visit your home. This sounds like a movie, but this was real life for Jeffrey Epstein. He built a fortune worth hundreds of millions of dollars and lived like one of the most powerful men in the world. But behind the luxury was a story that would later shock the entire planet. Jeffrey Epstein did not grow up rich. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and raised in a working-class neighborhood. Nothing about his early life suggested he would one day own private islands or fly across the world in luxury jets. He attended college but never finished his degree. Still, he managed to enter the world of finance. Early in his career, he worked at a financial firm and later started managing money for extremely wealthy clients. Over time, he built a reputation as someone who could help billionaires grow and protect their fortunes. By the time he died in 2019, his net worth was estimated around $560 million. Some reports suggested his business operations generated more than $800 million over nearly 2 decades. Epstein personally earned huge management fees, sometimes charging massive amounts for financial advice. Even today, experts say the full story of how he built his wealth is not completely clear. That mystery became part of his image. One of the key figures connected to his financial rise was retail billionaire Les Wexner. Epstein gained enormous control over Wexner's finances for years. Later, private equity investor Leon Black paid Epstein massive consulting fees. These relationships helped Epstein enter elite financial circles. He also used offshore financial structures, especially in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Experts later estimated this may have helped him avoid hundreds of millions in taxes over time. With this money, Epstein built a global real estate empire. His most famous property was a massive townhouse in Manhattan. The building was more than 20,000 square feet. Inside were rare paintings, expensive antiques, and unusual decorations. Some visitors described taxidermy animals and strange themed rooms. The house became a meeting place for powerful people from politics, business, and entertainment. Outside New York, he owned a luxury mansion in Palm Beach, Florida. He owned a luxury apartment in Paris. He owned a massive ranch in New Mexico covering thousands of acres. But the properties most connected to his name were his Caribbean islands. In 1998, he bought Little St. James Island and turned it into a private luxury retreat. Later, he bought the nearby Great St. James Island. Together, they included villas, pools, guest houses, and helicopter landing areas. At one point, the islands were valued at more than $80 million. Travel was another major part of his lifestyle. Epstein owned multiple private aircraft, including a Boeing 727. Private jets allowed him to move quickly between New York, Florida, Europe, and the Caribbean. He also owned luxury cars, motorcycles, and boats. Reports suggested his vehicle collection alone was worth tens of millions of dollars. To the outside world, he looked like a classic, ultra-wealthy financier. But Epstein's real power was not just money, it was access. He built a social network filled with powerful people. He attended elite parties, charity events, and private gatherings. Photographs later showed him with presidents, royalty, and major business leaders. Many people later said they regretted any connection after his crimes became public. For years, prosecutors later argued Epstein used his wealth and reputation to build trust. This allowed him to move freely in elite circles. To many people, he appeared quiet and professional. But behind that public image, something darker was happening. Investigations into Epstein began in the early 2000s when police in Florida started investigating allegations involving underage girls. Despite strong evidence, Epstein reached a controversial plea deal in 2008. This allowed him to avoid federal charges and serve limited jail time. Many people later criticized this deal as extremely lenient. The story did not end there. Investigative journalists continued working on the case. Public pressure grew. In 2019, Epstein was arrested again. This time, he faced federal sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors accused him of running a network that abused underage girls for years. They claimed he used his wealth, properties, and connections to recruit victims and avoid consequences. The arrest shocked the world. Many people could not believe someone connected to so many powerful circles could face charges like this. Then, while waiting for trial, Epstein died in jail.
Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life.
Jeffrey Epstein has died by suicide.
His death created global headlines and raised major questions about prison safety and high-profile prisoners. Investigators later argued that Epstein's fortune helped him avoid serious consequences for years. His properties created private environments away from public view. His money allowed him to hire elite lawyers. His connections helped protect him from early investigations. After his death, his financial empire began collapsing. His estate, once worth hundreds of millions, started shrinking. Luxury properties were sold. Assets were liquidated. Large amounts of money were used to compensate victims through settlement programs. Over time, much of his billionaire lifestyle disappeared through legal action and financial settlements. The story of Jeffrey Epstein still matters today. It exposed weaknesses in legal systems and financial oversight. It forced governments and institutions to rethink how powerful individuals are investigated. It also started global conversations about protecting victims and holding wealthy people accountable. On the surface, Epstein lived what looked like the ultimate billionaire dream: private islands, private jets, and global influence. But behind that image was a criminal network that shocked the world. His story is a reminder that extreme wealth does not always mean success or respect. For many people, his case became one of the most disturbing examples of how influence can delay justice. It also showed how important investigative journalism and public pressure can be. Even today, new documents and lawsuits connected to his network continue appearing. Jeffrey Epstein built a life that looked untouchable, but in the end, it collapsed. His story remains a warning about power, money, and accountability. It shows how appearances can hide dangerous realities, and how even the most powerful people can eventually face consequences when the truth comes out. If you imagine living surrounded by unlimited wealth, private security, global travel, and access to powerful people, it can seem like total freedom. But Epstein's story shows that extreme power without accountability can create dangerous situations. His rise was fast, his lifestyle was extreme, and his fall was historic. Many experts now use his case as an example of how financial systems and social power structures can fail. His story changed how law enforcement investigates wealthy individuals. It also changed how victims are supported in major criminal investigations. Governments and financial regulators introduced new rules and oversight after his case. Even years after his death, his story is still discussed in documentaries, books, and court cases. His former properties are now symbols of one of the most shocking scandals in modern history. What once represented luxury now represents a warning about corruption, influence, and abuse of power. His story is not just about money, it is about influence, trust, and how easily public image can hide dangerous reality. It reminds people that wealth alone does not protect someone from consequences forever. Eventually, truth can catch up with anyone, no matter how powerful they appear to be. Stories like this continue to shape public discussion about justice and responsibility. Many people now question how wealth and influence can affect legal systems. His case became part of a global conversation about accountability and transparency in financial and political systems. Imagine seeing a life where money opens every door, where private chefs cook daily meals, where security teams control who enters your world, and where influence can shape conversations at the highest levels. Epstein lived inside that reality for years, but every empire built on secrecy eventually faces pressure. His story became a turning point in how societies look at wealth and power. It forced institutions to ask hard questions about influence, justice, and accountability. It also changed how financial crime investigations are handled worldwide. Today, his name remains connected to discussions about transparency, power, and the danger of unchecked influence in modern society. This was the story of Jeffrey Epstein, a life of extreme wealth, hidden crimes, and a downfall that changed how the world looks at power. Thank you for watching.